In this video, we'll be looking at how to add to the contents of an array of numbers. If you want to know more about how arrays work, please look at my previous video. So the two examples of control structures I want to look at today, those are how it would look in a post-test loop and a pre-test loop. Now remember, as I said in the previous video, there are three ways that you can loop through an array. Those are the counted for loop, which is in the previous video. You can also use your post-test and your pre-test loops too. So in the example here, we have an array which lets you add the contents of each of the elements together. So if I have an array of numbers, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, stored in a 10 element array, I can add those contents together to work out what the total of those numbers would be. Now, what makes this powerful is imagine that if I had an array full of marks or full of some sort of calculations. This lets me perform on the fly calculations such as averages or any other calculations you can think of. And that's one of the powers of this control structure. So how does this look? First thing is we have to have two sort of values we have to declare the state of. The first is we're letting I, which is the index to equal 1. Now remember, that could be 1 or 0, but we're setting it to 1 in this example. And we are clearing the total to equal 0. Now with a repeat loop, remember we go through one loop before we check it. So here we're saying that let the first total equal whatever the first element is plus the total. So in the first one, it'll be 1 plus total is 0. So the total becomes 1. And then we're doing something called incrementation or incrementing the counter. So now it'll become 2. Now 2 is 2 greater than the number of elements. An example we have here is 2 greater than 10. No, it goes through. Now we know our total is 1. So element 2 is 2 plus 1 equals 3. And we keep going through until we've added all 10 elements together to work out the total. Then we break the loop and we display the sum of all the elements in the array is the total. Now, I don't recommend, as I do in the previous tutorial, to really focus too much on how do arrays look in flowcharts. You might get one in the exam to read, but I really do recommend that you focus on pseudocode, as it is pretty much what we use in both Year 11 and 12 exams. Now, in the pre-test example here, you can see that we check the element before we go in. So in this example here, we have the same let I equal 1 and let total equal 0. So that doesn't change. But we're checking the condition before we go in. Now you may have not seen this before, but this less than greater than means does not equal, basically means. So while element I does not equal the end of the number of elements, which is number 10 in this case here. So you'll keep processing through until it gets to the end of the array. And it does the same calculation here, and it displays the totals. Now the first example here says using the post-test format, create an array that adds and prints the contents of a number of set numbers between 0 and 20. So we just grab our post-test example here, paste it in. Now it says to do a set between 0 and 20. So we know that our first I, now that doesn't really matter what it's going to be, it can be 1, which means our array will finish at 21 because it'll count 1. Now here, we could pretty much keep the same contents of the array here. I would like you to try modifying this code to either hard code it or to change it in a different way, maybe counted for loops. Now, as I said before, arrays aren't easy things to get used to. The best way to get used to arrays is to either practice the questions I have in the worksheets or to look at the past examples that I have on our Google Classroom. If you have any questions, please let me know.